Welcome G. Let's start. So today I am going to discuss on record classes. So these are the generally you can say the record classes is the now if we know what are the right place, right the situation where we can use this record classes. Record classes also offer something which we can get the benefit. So generally Java initial when it started, the basic concept of class is where generally we are used whenever need some class we generally use. But the record classes are the class we can use for this specific purpose, and we should know key what are the situation and which context we are going to use. So let's discuss about this record classes. So record classes. So is it not a kind of a something different, but it is a special kind of class. So it is also just a special kind of class. That means key it is help to model a plain data aggregates. That means key where we want uh, just to hold data, to just transfer data from a place to b place. And why it's help? Because if the same purpose we can write the simple classes, normal classes Java, that is more ceremony. So this record class help us to model our plain data aggregate with a less ceremony code than the normal classes, or it's act as like a transparent carriers of the immutable data. So here the major you can point when you want immutable data means once your object created, after that there is no any scope to change or update the value. Those are the immutable data. So once you want immutable object, immutable data, this is the right place to use the record classes. So all the fields in the record classes are final because this is immutable. Means ki once your object is created, after that you cannot modify. That means it should be final. So the record classes intention is to simply serve as a data carrier. Just we have a want to data store a place to b place to c, one method to another method without any kind of mutability. In other language you can might be know the word tuples. So here tuple means sometime I want to use the field two variable as a one object, a three variable one object, four variable one. Look like this record classes also solve the tuples concept. And record classes, so it is a class and it is the purpose of to use the immutable data, surely then the record class should be final. So record classes by default it's a final, implicit final, so we cannot say extend to other classes. So these are the basic theories. So record classes is the classes, and whenever you want some kind of immutable data and you want to, so in those cases don't manually going to write kind of classes that special setter getter and each everything that make immutable. So just use the record classes just like a data classes. So what the syntax, how we can declare? So record class declaration, so they have basic three parts here. You can say first whatever the record class name, and then header, and then body. Header means the list of fields which you want your record classes can hold. So syntax or declaration is very simple. Just you write, let us example. So let us, we have a class like this, and here I can write it like a record, and let's employee. The employee is the year record. So these are the basics. You can say here your the record is the just like your keyword. Employee name is the name of record, and header look like header. This like means list of fields which one I want, like should be integer ID, or should be string name, should be let's email. Okay, so now this is your record class. So here your name of record class, this is look like your say header, or you can say the list of field, list of attribute which you want employee can hold. And now open and close. Now it is your minimum requirement about your record classes. So record classes you can just use like your name, header which means the list of your components, and the body can be blank, can be something, that's optional thing, but you have to mention open and close curly braces so that you can define. So the minimum things you have to write record classes, you have to mention the name, your header part, and your body. Header part means just the list of fields which you want as a part of a record. And one thing's note, this record class by default automatically created following methods for us, like constructor, like set getter method, like equals method, hash code method, toString method. So these all the required methods for any object you get automatically. So this is the you can say the record classes are just like a special classes purpose to create a immutable object and with a less ceremony. So less ceremonies means you don't need to write this kind of method, equals method, hash code method, toString method, getter method, and constructor. All are by default you are getting. The required less ceremony means we have only mentioned the record name, header, and body. So look like in here we have used this. Now you can create your employee class object, employee, and the new what employee, and here you can pass 101 ID, your name, John, email. Okay, now you are one object, and even you can S out. Now you are getting employee object created. This object class automatic, you have noticed toString method overridden. You are getting concise toString method. You don't write anything. Notice now you are getting employee object, and even you can say like maybe dot getter setter, like a getter method you want to get name, or even you want to get email, or even you want to get ID, whatever field, even you want to like your hash code method. So all these method by default your on the your record classes you can get. So now the writing of classes that's hold immutable means now you created one employee class. Employee class, no, you cannot change like ID, name, email ID. If you want immutable class, this record classes help us, and with a very concise and simple you can say concept. Well, record keyword, record name, and the list of fields which you want. And for the constructor purpose, you notice that this is the constructor, or sometime because the canonical constructor or compact constructor. So this classes you can also, you if you needed sometime, I want write my own constructor, you can do like here let's key I want to my employee constructor, and here just I want to pass the minimum name required. Okay, so you can write your own constructor. Even I want only name, rest should be a default. You can define, but whenever you are going to define your own constructor, you have to ensure from here you have to call this like your default id, whatever the your id, and the name whatever you want, and some default email. So now you can create employee class using your constructor. Employee, and here you can just pass the right, and even you can test, you are getting the new employee Mike. So means now this is kind of your constructor. Now notice these are the default value automatically associated. So when you can going to define your own constructor, or even can define same way this constructor like as well as we can the same constructor, but we have to invoke this and then id, then your name, then your email. Okay, so you notice this is already defined, so there is no any use to defining the same. But sometime instead of writing this, you can simply write this way constructor as well as here you can, let's you want if someone name cannot be blank. Okay, so here you can write like if name dot length, let's at least greater than 2 name. Okay, if less than 2, then you can throw exception. Okay, illegal argument exception, name cannot be less than 2. So if someone going to create your like here, let's say I want to create another employee object like a 2 with just okay 2, like just one word, let's, and you create. So here you have options, you can add your own validations while the constructing object. Okay, now so name cannot be less than the 2. So this also kind of constructor, this is known as a compact constructor. So generally these are the like your canonical constructor, these are your compact constructor. You are here, you are getting all these three value and whatever the validation you want to apply here. So the multiple flavor of constructor, if sometime you needed to write your own constructor, you can do maybe the simple constructor or using the compact canonical constructor. So these are the things you have to consider key while writing in the record classes. You must mention name in the list of fields and your body part. You can automatically get the constructor part, your getter part, your request method, your hashcode method, your twisting methods, and if you needed additional constructor, some validation, some, then you can write your own canonical or compact constructor. So let's think what other thing we can do while writing the record classes. So uh, we can implement our own following methods also if because these are the like your say getter method, equals method, hash code method, toString method, automatically you are getting. But if needed sometime I want to override, give some specific conditions, so you can do, but please be ensure that you cannot violate the contract which already record class implemented. And even you can declare other all static fields, static initializer block and method as well as in record class. You can also like, so here you can declare like any static variable like string test, and even you can write a method static string get test, and you can return test, and even you can write some static initializer block as well as static, and here say test equal to dummy. So that means in the record classes you can declare a static variable, declare a static method and a static block even as well as. There is no any problem. And what other things also you can do, like in the record classes you can also declare instance method, nested classes, nested interface and even nested record classes. By default these are the implicit. So in the record classes you can do like here, even you can declare here any like a variable like a public like int get data. Any instance method you can declare and return whatever you want, right? What is the business logic? Even you can write here even class, nested class as well as, even you can write your interface nested interface as well as. So whatever the things by default lots of things your record classes offer you can do. Okay, by default this should be your, please by default it implicitly is that static, you mention or not mention. Even you can mention like here like a static. So generally you mention or not mention, by default static interface, by default static, mention or not mention. Similarly you can write here a record classes as well as a record like maybe util. Okay, so here you can write the record. So inside your record classes, you can write is your maybe any instance method, many nested class, interface or even the nested your record, nested record class. Okay, so these are the things which you can, if needed, you can add inside your record classes. And even you can think you can write our generic you can say record class support generic like t types and parameter types, and even you can declare one record class can implement one or more interfaces. So your class or record class can implement interface. Let's example here you are writing record class, let's test. Okay, and they can implements like implements, maybe we have a here, let's key interface, my interface. Okay, and you can implement my interface. So your record class can implement one interface or maybe multiple interface if you have. Okay, that's interface 1. You can implement interface 1 as well as. So record classes is the final. That means you cannot extend another class, but you can implement. Let's write record uh, test 1. Okay, so here let's give we have a class like class test 2D. So this is the class, and so you cannot like extend. So here not extends like extends like a test D. So your record classes cannot extend any class B. Why? Because record class by defaults are final, so you cannot extend. So you cannot extend, but you can implement interface. Okay, so similarly you can create a generic, you can create implement record classes, and you can annotate record class and its individual member. So sometimes we need annotation, so we can all the attributes of the record classes and record class itself can be annotated. So these are things which you can do with record classes. And let's think what we cannot do as implement. We cannot even you cannot make a record class as a abstract class. That's key. Here I am going to let's write record class. Okay, a record department. Okay, and so this is the record class, but you cannot mark as a like abstract. Okay, here a record class cannot allow modifier like your abstract. So you cannot do abstract, and even you cannot extend. So these are things which you cannot do like with abstract class. We cannot make record class as abstract, or even you cannot your abstract class extend any other class. These are two things which you cannot do. Even you can not declare any instance variable or instance initializer or native method. So these things like instance like here this is your record. So here you can declare like your static variable integer x. There is no any problem. Okay, but here you cannot declare just like an integer y. So non-static variable or instance variables are not allowed inside the record class for declaration. Okay, so these are the things. Why? Because instance member generally this is the kind of a private things, and the statics can be accessible anywhere. So these are the some thumb rules that record class mentioned. You cannot declare any instance variable or even instance initializer. Instance initializer like make this is just block. You cannot do like any y equal to 10. Okay, so these like instance variable and instance initializer blocks are not allowed. Okay, so these are things which can do, these are things which cannot do with the record classes. So in the last you can notice that record classes can be, you can say your local classes, means inside the method, inside a block you can create record class, or maybe top level classes can be record class, even a nested class which we see. So record classes you can declare. Maybe the top level class means I have file name as a record classes. This is the top level class as a record class. And nested means inside a class you can declare another record class. You can do local class means inside a particular method, this is the particular block you have, and here you can declare also record. Means record classes can be placed look like as your normal classes whatever you're doing. There is no any boundaries key where you cannot do local record class, top level nested classes. And even if you know the object of any record class, whatever you have object, okay, that object or instance of record class, you can use serialization and deserialization. This object can be serialized and deserialized. And whatever the record class you are creating, by default your record class is the become a subclass of your java.lang record. So this is the one abstract classes java.lang package created record, and whatever the record class we created, this is my record class, by default they extend your record classes. So you know Java support one class can extend at a time only one class. So if your record class by default extend your record classes, so other classes you cannot extend. The main reason that due to your class cannot extend any other, but we can implement interface. Reason is that because by default all the record classes, this record class is the super class of or all classes. Means whatever the record classes you creating, record class 1, record class 2, record class 3, all the record class super class is the java.lang record classes. And sometime we confusion, let's give we have a multiple object 1, object 2, object 3, and I don't know this is the object of your normal class or it is the object of your record classes. So for that purpose in java.lang class the method added, you can identify like is the record class or not record class. Let's example, so here this is your employee class. Now let's say you have like a static method like void test, and here let's give you are a x object, okay, and here just s out. So object class have a like method get class, and then you can say is this is the record or not. So let us here you can pass like a, here we have a employee, so test just pass your employee, okay, and notice this employee class whatever you pass they check this is the record class or not, okay. And if you pass normal class object, so this will method execute, it's not record class. Sometime if somewhere places needed, you are just receiving the object and you don't know okay, this is the record object or something else. So as of now just comment out these are the things which are not allowing me, okay, because as our rules say, so that we can invoke our test method. And you notice that these are record classes. Let's any the class like we have created like a class test t. So if let's I create invoke test and just pass the your like different, now this object class don't know you are passing me the record class or the normal classes. So if you notice for this will return it is a record class or not record class. So this method is record, sometime it's help you to identify for this employee object say it's a true, for your test object say false, that means this is not record classes. So sometime if you need some record class identification, so you can use the is record method, or even you want to figure out key what are the list of fields this record class have, so this is a method the get record components, you can figure out all the variables that record class hold. So these are the some things which we can do with the record classes, but surely record classes have a specific purpose. So you cannot say in the Java key whenever you need a class always you can use the record class. No, this need a kind of a judgment. Whatever the class you want, okay, this class whatever the fields you want like 2 field 3 words, and you want this object should be immutable. So good candidate for those classes, you always prefer the record classes. Record classes just help us to create a immutable object, and so that key and with a less ceremony. Lots of things you don't need to write like a toString method, equals method, hash code method, constructors, each and everything you are getting free. So whenever you are need like a data holder, data class, or you can say data carrier, I just want to hold value, and that value transfer from A place to B place. And those fields, once object created, you don't want this to be any kind of modification. So in those contexts, you always choose the record class. And some places or some situation, you want to create object, but after some time I need some modification. So for those mutable classes, you always use your normal class concept, which are generally we are using. So please try to use record classes as feasible in your application, in your project, because these help us lots of code readability, and they are you can writing your classes with the help of record is the very less number of code, and code readability is the clear. This is the record class, these are the fields you want, and this class just hold data that is immutable. Generally, whenever you are writing any class that's are immutable, this class object you can directly use in any multi-threading environment. There is no any problem of the state changing. So this all the record class object by default they are shared across the multiple threads. And nowadays, if your object are going to is inside the thread, you don't worry, because you are passing the immutable object. Immutable object have a lots of benefits. So whenever in your application some object state never change, please create those classes as a record classes, and this is a help to unnecessary object business logic failure, because sometimes your business situation say your object once object created, after that your object cannot change, still you are using normal classes in one method, another method, yeah, one thread, in another threads, anyone can change the value, and that will just break a business logic. But you say, okay, this is my business logic, always say once our object is created, after that we never going to the change. So feel free to pass different method, feel free to pass any number of thread, because you are now know I've created the object using the record classes, this is the immutable, there is no any kind of business leakage. So these are the situation where you can use the record classes. This is a very concise and very less ceremony code. So from this note, I would like to say thank you for watching this video.